think it's about time there to open up Elder Scrolls Online. Wait, what? Morrowind's free? Oh. It's a Duerden now. Forgot. It's Elder Scrolls. Well, hi there. I'm Yeti from Yeti Roleplays, and I want to welcome you to the Elder Scrolls Online. Today we are taking a look at the Dunmer, or Dark Elves. Specifically, how do you roleplay them? And no, we are not roleplaying them like they're Dritch Duerden. Let me make that very clear. Well, first, let's talk about who the Dark Elves are. The Dunmer, as they are known, were once akin to the High Elves, although much like the Drow of Faerun, they decided to betray their brethren and even pissed off a Drazic prince, and were subjected to becoming the snobbish, slave-driving Noir we have today. Yes, the Dunmer share many features of habit and history to the Drow of Faerun, which can make anyone wonder if the entire Elder Scrolls series wasn't based off of Faerun altogether. But don't worry, because they do have some distinct differences, which does make them more palpable to experience the game with, which for starters, they aren't, vilified into non-existence by the other races. In fact, the Altmer and Bosmer don't seem too cheesed with them in general. Did somebody say cheese? By the nine, who let Shio out of the Shivering Isles? Anyway, Daedric princes notwithstanding, the Dunmer have a very interesting history that often makes you wonder how they got it together. The Dunmer were once known as the Chimer, but have since been turned into the ashy blue-skinned boys with eyes of burning hatred as hot as the Red Mountain. Aside from their appearance, the Dark Elves share many similarities to their more golden brethren and most of the Mer races in general. They often look down upon anyone that isn't a Dark Elf, which is really weird because if I think about it, Drow are very similar in that regard. Considering their natural inclination to be snobbish, overbearing slavers that many of them are, really making me want to think about becoming full Dritz. It would be the renegade Drow that protects Tamriel, saves everyone. Dunmer. No, you're not Dritz. I'm not gonna. No, we're not doing Dritz. Dritz does not belong in Tamriel, not Faerun. Some Dunmer are less inclined to behave that way to other races openly, especially considering where they are in the world. In Morrowind, expect that treatment without hesitation, but in non-house controlled areas, expect a less arrogant interaction, although it will still burn you with those baleful eyes. Before we get into the meat of who the Dunmer are and how to really roleplay as them, you have to ask yourself this: are you Velothi or are you Houseborn? So who do you pick? Well, I mean, the game's kind of neutral on which Dark Elf you are treated as, so it's kind of up to you. I mean, most Dark Elves are treated like outsiders in the game.
I can't believe they want us to go outside the house to find them.
So I mean, it's up to you, really. Before we continue, as a side note, since we're about to dive further into the Dunmeri world, I wanted to point out that while I try to make my guide as universally versatile as possible, I tend to gear my own roleplay and for solo purposes, and this video is geared to make it possible for people to solo roleplay as well. Also, most of what I cover is intended for ESO, although I'd love to do a guide for all of the Elder Scrolls series soon. Anyway, let's keep going. We're talking about the Velothian houses. Currently in the second era of the Elder Scrolls world, which is where ESO takes place, there are 5 houses. For further context for the Morrowind players, this means that the events of Morrowind hasn't happened yet, so nobody can technically be in their ravine. The ashlanders of Velothi, as they call themselves, are the non-housed Dunmer who roam the ashy plains of Ardenfell and beyond. I will say, though, that the Velothi are known to be more friendly and accepting of outsiders. I mean, they're still snobs, but they're a little bit more willing to work with outsiders versus the more snobby ones that are stuffed up some glowing yellow and blue guy's ass. Yeah, I called you out, Vivek. What are you gonna do about it, huh? You gonna make that big old moon fall to the sky and kill me? Vivek. Unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure he's probably the closest thing you'll be able to find that actually is what an original Dunmer looked like. Well, the Chimer to be specific. The Chimer or changed ones are, well, they're the former race of the Ashy Boys that we now know and sometimes love, sometimes hate, and sometimes are confusing with Dritz Duerden, the other Dark Elves from Faerun. Yeah, I know, I'm making a lot of jokes and references to the Faerun because the similarities are just... Think about it, I mean, the Drow of Faerun betrayed Corlin because of Lolth, and the Dark Elves of Tamriel betrayed the Aldmer. I mean, there's a lot of similarities. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of similarities between these guys. Well, I mean, technically they didn't betray the Aldmer, they killed the Nerevar, or the Tribunal did. Armor King, something like that. I don't know, I haven't played Morrowind, so I'm not sure. I was an Oblivion boy, I'm sorry. Although, if you look at some of their house insignias, you could draw some correlations between them. Just saying.
Time
Spiders, beetles, Bugs?
Do I need to
Cheese?
throw
No.
you out?
Back to the strip of the Isles with you. We want to focus on how to roleplay as one of our hot and snobby boys and girls for ourselves, right? Well, then let's talk about the main component of what makes a drow. I mean, Dunmer. By the similarities are killing me. Ooh-wee, they love some Almsby. What's Almsby? Oh, that's some weird wordplay for the living gods. I'm not exactly sure what the hell it's supposed to stand for, but that's their living gods. The Tribunal, Vivek, Amalexia, and Solfasil. The Dunmer love their living gods. Well, at least some. Depending on your choice, most ashlanders or Velothi will worship their ancestors in the good danger of Boethia, Lafala, and Azura. That's what the Velothi tend to worship along with their ancestors. Molybal, Marin's Dagon, Shugorath, and I think it's just three. They're like four corners. No, they're supposed to be the four corners. One of them is the corners of trouble, something or other. Okay. Whereas if you were to pick a houseborn, you're more than likely going to worship the tribunal, because at this time the Empire has not taken control of Morrowind again. So they're just kind of like, hey, we're going to worship whoever we want to watch or worship. If I didn't make it clear, the Velothi in the houses don't really like. So you basically can come from any of the houses, although I would probably say you're not going to be very fondly looked upon by other races if you're from House Drez, because they're slavers, farmers, and they're traditionally guerrilla warfare, and they do have a very traditional outlook on things, so they may look upon the Khajiit and the Argonians as slaves versus actual other races that are, equal, or at least they can be talked to as people, not slaves. Or you can join House Veteran, which is more warriors, pieties, think like knights, almost like samurais is the way I kind of look at them, and that's kind of like the whole Dunmer mentality, is they're very samurai-like, very feudal Japanish, and a lot of their art style is very similar to that as well. Or there's House Indoril, which is pretty conservative. They have a pretty decent presence in Stonefalls, and you actually meet a few of them there. Or you can be like this boy here, my guy. You can join the Telvanni and be very magical, self-centered. They're very reclusive, they don't care about what's happening in the world unless it absolutely matters to them. And I would pretty much assume they probably don't give two flying turds about the tribunal, unless they absolutely have to. And they also extend their lives far beyond what is normally possible through magic, which is, makes me think some of them might be necromancers of some sort. Or there's also House Halalu, which is pretty much they're merchants, traders, bankers, but they also are very sly and like to do things, kind of under the covers, and stealing, thievery, very trickery. That's kind of where that would be coming from. Last but not least, a few little tips on how to roleplay at Dunmer. So first off, as I've tried to make as clear as possible, they're probably the most snobbish and full of themselves, not unlike their Altmer brethren, who are also very high and mighty and think upon themselves, but they take like a whole new level to it. They're like really, really bad. One nice thing about them, I'm not doing any classes in this video, but they do have a strength in blades, bows, and destruction magic. They're just constantly training themselves. From a young age, they are trained to be able to do all those things, which again kind of makes me think of the Dunmer or the Drow from Faerun, because they're really skilled in magic, especially the males, and that kind of thing. But again, we're not talking about the Drow. And for more flavor, if you're playing it like me and you're just solo, there's some fun words they like to throw out: Sarah, Noir, and Swit. Sarah is usually termed as basically a friend or companion or somebody that you kind of are friendly with, or at least are familiar with. Noir is usually a derogatory term, very rude and cruel, along with Swit, which is usually meant to call you an idiot. So use those to your heart's content, because it makes you sound more like a Drow, Dunmer. Last but not least, Arrogance. They are very arrogant. Your character could be different, but try to, you can be a friendly character with other characters, but just make sure that you are friendly, but still kind of put your boot down and say, I am better than you. I'm just being nice to you, that thing. So, I hope this helps you guys out in deciding how you're going to roleplay as a drow, or sorry, Dunmer. Again, if you guys do have any points or things that you want to let me know about, please be sure to just tell me anything that you guys think I missed or would like me to cover further on, as such as coming up with character ideas for a Dunmer, or anything like that, or if there's a particular race you want me to cover next. I was thinking possibly the Khajiit. I was only doing the Dunmer because of the fact that Morrowind became free, so I thought it would be kind of a good idea to get the Dunmer out for you guys, especially for you that are new to the game, which, by the way, is also free. I hope you'll join me in my next adventure, and until next time, bye-bye.